Camera makes you look bad. Gotta stitch the screen. Yeah. So Lloyd, why did you call this meeting? My dad loved the line. You may be wondering. Yeah.
We're at 5. Do we need quorum to start a community top story? It's all informational, like Jordan said.
I'll just wait a few minutes, but make sure that people won't decide on it. Oh. That's it. Yeah. And there's some people. Oh, my, did about trying all the way from my young. I didn't catch the car for you. It wasn't. Yeah, Rob. I did. Sure. I like to be man in the right. Yeah. Oh. Oh, yeah. So the purpose of this community talk story is really not a meeting. Reason we call it a meeting because of sunshine law. The whole purpose is to have a more informal day for us to kind of introduce ourselves, tell you guys, tell people what we're doing. Do it in a more relaxed setting rather than a real formal meeting. So, I'm not gonna call this meeting to order, I'm not gonna do that. One of the main purposes of today's meeting is that, since the last time, and you guys came to the meeting, is to kind of introduce gonna be such a pivotal who he is, what he's about, allow people to kind of ask questions about he is. So that's part of what we try to do. We also hired a contract boy who brings a lot of wealth of experience with the state and help us navigate for the state. So with that, I'm gonna ask John to introduce himself, tell you about himself, why he's here, why he's doing what he's doing.
Thank you. Thank you, all my people, and to those who are on the Zoom as well. A little bit of my background. I born and raised in Waikiki, walk from the zoo, 2 blocks from the beach in that corner. So today you can see the clean up on the home that did about 60 yards behind it. So oddly enough, the Waikiki I grew up in, I'm giving away my age. I actually feel that neighborhood whenever I drive through Calhoun. And sense of the neighborhood was what Waikiki was back then. And blocks away from us, things are flying out of the ground at that point. Led to this whole big boom in hotels. Stayed there until I was 13, and then the family moved out to East School. But every summer and every vacation, my parents would ship me and my 3 brothers to Kona. And my grandmother and grandfather lived in Honolulu. She was born in from Molokai. And so we spent, so by the time I was like 15, I knew Kona would be home. So for my wife and I, it's been home for the last 33 years. I grew up primarily in the areas of tourism and development. And living in Kona, I was able to operate from there. And then when COVID hit, the president of the Hawaiʻi tourism announced that he was going to resign. And I actually had some other people in mind to compete for that position. And other people thought I could compete. In the end, I did. And so September 2020, I became president of the Hawaiʻi tourism. At that point in time, all the markets around the world shut. Arrivals on a daily basis went to 0, and we were in an economic collapse.
So here's the deal. I don't know if we need to vote on this.
And so, people thought I should have my head examined back then, was stepping into it. But it had less to do with tourism for me, and had more to do with caring for our home. And because I was a student of tourism, I understood the value that it could bring to the economic recovery. And so, when I look back now at the 3-year term that I served, we got through the recovery. We started to achieve certain goals that we had set. We ended the year 2022 with less visitors and more revenue, which is basically kind of a model. And my board at that time asked me if I would extend one more year. And I ended up declining. And so in June of 2023, I announced to my board I wouldn't be going beyond September. And that would give them time to look for replacement. And everything was on track until the high note went up. And then, the pains goes with that. So I left the authority in September. And as it became more public that I was not going to go forward this year, different people started contacting me and encouraging me to think about it. And took some time off. The job got posted, I think in late September. And I decided to go fly and compete for it. Why, why would I do that? And why is my wife encouraging you? They give me a house. But it's a very personal subject. We all have knowledge of it, and so I have to go through my own kind of personal process to understand A, why am I doing it? B, can I help? Can I bring what I've learned? And the irony is that the 3 years of prison authority has helped me now to understand what an authority can do, but more importantly, what it cannot. The other thing I recognized was, and I used this analogy, if your goal is to build a hospital, these people you hire are not doctors. You need to hire people that know how to build it. And so when the legislature wrote the law, it doesn't contemplate what design and build is. It contemplates how it should operate, and it's the goal, the kuleana. But to get to that kuleana, you have to pump a lot of air. So as a result, when I looked at applications, and I saw doctors, right? And I needed to go find somebody that could understand how to build it. So I reached out with John Komeji's help to Lloyd Umegasami. Lloyd has worked as either director or deputy director for DAGS, Department of Taxation, Tourism Authority. He was the state of Hawaii's first procurement officer under John Mahé. And so that is a guy who got the toolbox and he knows how to build. And actually what we're building is for your generation. Not, I'm not going to be a doctor in that building. But we got to make sure that we built this in a way that is being guided constantly by the 12-member board. Because by design, when you look at the law, each board member is defined individually for its skill and its depth and its experience. Right? So, it's like looking at a 12-point star compass. That as a board, they will set the direction, how we're going to go, where we're going. And then our team, at the moment, Lloyd and myself, it's the crew so far. And as we build it up, then we need to be able to implement the policies and it's a long way of saying that all that complexity is part of what attracts. Because there's part of it that feels impossible. Right? Somebody asked me about a business card and I showed them a Rubik's Cube. And I said, not only is it a Rubik's Cube, but we're in the dark trying to do it. So when the light go on, we gotta have made progress on this thing. But let's say at this stage of my life, it is my nature to get drawn into that situation and it's meaningful. It's important that we figure out how to do this. Coming out of a tourism background, when they talk about global image and Hawaii's brand is going to be defined globally. Places like Mauna Kea, Lahaina, Red Hill, and you write down the list because the global media is watching, they're paying attention to it. So I told my buddies at the tourism authority, you can quadruple your budget, you're never going to be able to tell a story that is accurate and truthful. Places like Mauna Kea. So it's an immense responsibility, but it's fun to feel humbled, a bit selected, be overwhelmed, but also inspired. Thank you.
Because part of this is engaging in discussion. Getting questions, but I'm gonna let you choose first.
Thank you.
And then,
Yeah, I'm Lloyd Anabasky. Born on the across the Hawaiʻi. Went to Kiwa Union School after the 3rd grade. But we moved to Honolulu. Lived on a sugar plantation here. In outhouses. Common bathroom. Just take a bath. Cartoon man. I'm a grandfather. Okay, start. That's it. You can sleep. You know, you know, you would walk up to the post office. You know, something that I really remember. And one other small thing I remember. You know, you gotta have a branch so you can make a slingshot. Walnut tree was solid. That's in the back anyway. I was very fortunate, University of Hawaii, in CPA, private sector, and then I worked for state government. Great boss. Introduced me to Governor Mahe, the tax department and the accounting department company. Journeys. Then he made me the state procurement officer. We had a new law that came out. We had to do all the rules for how the state has to be fair to purchase things. Did that for 6 years. Then I got to Hawaii Tourism Authority. And I never knew this. Way before. Retired in 2009. Very fortunate I didn't retire young. And then I had some small jobs with our CUAs, so I did go up to the mountain with for a year and a half there, and then here and there. Yeah, I'm here because I was asked that they needed some help to create this new agency. And I was with the Hawaiʻi Tourism Authority. I got there 2 years in that agency that was starting to become a new agency. So we were part of the planning process. We did a 5-year plan. It was a living plan. So every X amount of years, you look at it again. 9 years. Very fortunate to have an experience to be the president. Then after that, my policy of the board, if I took the interim president, I couldn't go for the real president. Took the interim, just for the experience. I'm learning a lot. I'm sure you both heard this person's name, Kelly Wilson. She was part of the Hawaiʻi Tourism Authority, and she taught me what it is to be Hawaiian. Well, you gotta learn the language, you can get, oh, okay. I never learned the language, but I've been hearing it all day today. And it just gives me the chills to say, okay, I know what my responsibility is. It's not only making this, having to help make this agency work, but there is a deep rooted thing about it, which is the past. And I have to make sure that my ears are to listen to everybody and not just say, I'm going to be here to create an agency. Create an agency and listen. With that, I just see that to that, to say that's who I am. I have cousins still here. We have family here yet. But I'm the second oldest of our generation. With all the rest, that's all my uncles and aunties. So we're the new group, and I do have some responsibility here because it's good. And again, I see the significance of not only for look at it in terms of that we can shine and hope can all work together to make it happen.
So, you guys will find out that a boy is left turn right there. No matter what your plan is. So I want to introduce two other people. First, we just had a new member that's going to start July 1st. The other is replacing Kamana Beamer. Kamana has hope that he couldn't continue. So luckily, because of the timing of stuff, he's not really a member until July 1st. He's currently on the Water Commission, State Water Commission. So I wanted to here. After, yeah.
Hello, Mike. Side of Oahu, born and raised, and very much a child from Hawaii. 7th grade and did one boarding there. Since I'm this is a representative of a colossal failure of man. Come on a Beamer, guys that come on a Beamer, and you were supposed to be replacing us, not vice versa. So the fact that I'm replacing Kamana, his father was my debate partner, one of my debate partners, before I switched to John Osorio was my debate partner. John and Kyoto is, from the time with Kyoto, best friends from the past. Yeah, that was growing up. And, to be frank, to come in at that day and age, you know, today, and, we were military institute, TC. I walked around with a saber my senior year. I can't do with it. And I don't think that'll be good. Well, someday that. But, you know, to be really honest, coming in at that time, the best idea for youth was to really get them educated so they weren't so much. You know, and when we had the opportunities of education, going on to college, and coming back, my first job, son of Kohala, Fred Kachola, took a chance of coming right out of college, hired me to be part of the burgeoning extension education division of command schools and reaching out from the campus to the community. But to be honest, I mean, we were Hawaiians educated to run institutions that and would do the same thing to other Hawaiians. And you do that with a sense of good faith. You know the story. It kept the language from us because they thought that some would be better off with that. But we were also the spark of the Renaissance. Even while trying to grow in a career, we did it. Things, some of the things we did, and even extension education. Oh, help the kids in Hana. Take kids from Hana, bring them to come to Kapalama on an open weekend when the dorm's not in use, put them in the dorms, show all the opportunities of the big city, so they get motivated to get educated so they leave home. Respectful of that. They had to. Not very, but we did it with all good intent. And when I shifted to land stuff, I'll get the vote so we can put Club Med at Makalabena, you know, or something on across from Sandy Beach on Oahu. So there is a Hawaiian trying to do something for a Hawaiian institution, you know, but who were the greatest resistors? Go see my own classmates. What are you doing? What's coming back doing? You know, you kick us all out of here. So you disrupt all the systems that we value and cherish. So you can make some money and come back and offer an education for 1 out of every 10 kids. We don't have stupid written across our forehead. There's something lost. And we kind of struggled till we had our explosion of leadership. And, you know, learn that you're crucible for forging your life. Some challenges that sometimes you don't welcome. But we didn't welcome the challenges of and, you know, political stuff at that time. But it sure as hell sharpened the spirit. And it forced us to rethink our problems. So really privileged to be a part of a group who help do strategic planning and so forth, and reconnect ourselves with people. And for the land issues, we need to generate an optimal balance, educational, environmental, cultural, and community returns. Your job is not to just look at it in one simple-minded way, make money, you know, or culture and forget, we don't need money. We do need money, you know, or don't be single issued about it. You know, they were very broad and holistic. You need to be more Hawaiian. You need to look at this through the lens of ours. And that was the journey of my life. That was such a ride. You know, from 2000 to 2015, running the land access division, hiring people like hiring people like Julio Woodside and Michael Whitehead and Marissa Harmon and Commandant. So, you know, those are all the team we brought to the table. Kekuewa Kikiloa case and gang. And God, it was fun. And it was like, it was paradigm shifting. And it was a struggle, we were talking earlier about shifting paradigms. Struggle between a system that wanted to continue to doing what it did, even though it led to failure, rather irrationally, versus how do you change that? How do you motivate that? How do you create proof points that de-risk the change that's happening? And awesome research the other day. Check out the Consuelo Foundation website. They were looking at Don Mahi and based program. I don't know what the research is just rolling out from this, but they looked at like from all time to about 1986, 1980, and maybe there were 10 around the state. And they looked at it 1990, and they looked at 2000, 2010, 2020, and like it went from every island had a few layout around the year, to now island-based programs are just circling like a lake every single. And it's our people coming back. And when we had that opportunity to start letting them on the land, getting out of their way of what they do anyway, that they had their own sense of well-being was wasn't being kicked out and then being educated and then sent away, but being there, being kupaina, being people knowledgeable and taking care of the place and their community and all of that. That's on fire. Don't see that in the state. This is where what our people want and need. This is, we even have tourism in Kalanika, and so forth. This is what regenerative and what we need to be working. So when I retired from Kamehameha in 2015, I immediately created a consulting company, Volcanic Strategies, because we weren't done yet. And the things that came out of that experience was a tremendous sense of love. It was amazing, special place. Nothing care. So that keeps me in, and your generation is just blows my mind. It's what you have in terms of capabilities, that we were taught, but so much more cultural depth. It's just such a beautiful thing. It's what we aspire to uplift that. Programs I have leadership and business accelerators, a lot of these social enterprises, then serving on the board, PPS board or Hawaiʻi Land Trust, and all these things just they enable me to kind of stay and continue. And so the call when you come on, go on and say that. This is somebody has to be in this position, but management. I'm not going to get off water commission. I'm finished that. And I think we pray. I'm not afraid of it. We've shifted paradigms before. With this army that's happening, we just got to channel the energy, and the tourism. Why would we want to be I was remembering Chris Hemmeter and so forth. We cannot be an image or something of somebody else. We got to be the best image of ourselves. If we're going to be the best tourism we have. We've seen it in voyaging. It's trying to create an America's Cup vessel. We're trying to create our vessel that is more than about sailing. It's about values. It's about those stuff. Just the physical stuff coming, but the values that come with it. What's our future correspondent? Talking to you. What is that arrow? What's that thing? What we know? Ancestral. Integrate with technology and innovation to achieve something better than any place else. It's kind of a dream come true. Keep going. So to come to the team and awesome people to work.
Thank you. Thanks. So again, another left turn. Right? Any of you that's met, he is the director of Canada Defense Telescope, and I think every year think it's really important for us to meet different people. To that, John Gabriel to kind of introduce himself. Get whatever he wants to say. Because I think part of why we're having this is to have this conversation. So that
Thank you, Ginger. So, I was born in France. I lived part of my childhood in Morocco. When I was young adult, I lived Niger. And later on, I was working in France as an astronomer. Then I moved to Germany and to Chile, still in the astronomy business. So I've traveled quite a bit in my life. I had experienced different cultures. So to come to why I am here, I think the first time I came here in Hawaii was probably 35 years ago. There were much fewer telescopes on the mountain. And I remember the first time I saw when I came to was from Hawaiʻi. Probably the clouds cleared on that day, and telescopes were my thing. I was a young astronomer, so I was when I'm kind of proud being an astronomer to see telescope on the sun. It was my first contact with money. Then I came regularly in Hawaii there as an observer or as a member of committees associated with Canada and so on. So I came almost every year, so to say. And I heard, of course, all the work that was being done to prepare for it. And I heard about the first controversies about the takeout triggers, so I started to be part of my education and of my how I was perceiving what we were doing in Hawaii. So for years, I really heard about, again, all the master plan preparation, everything which was done for preparing for TMT, non impact statement, all of that. And I thought it was a well done job, genuinely. Then, of course, 2014 arrived, Aquila interrupts the groundbreaking ceremony. 2015, the protection of Mauna Kea, and use this word on purpose because it's your word. And I don't want to use another word that my community tends to use. So 2015 again is demonstration to protect Mauna. And then to me it was the trigger. How come that everything I was told before, which I thought was well done, grew up in a matter of hours or days? So from this time on, my relationship completely changed. And so, but of course, to look more often, I was in France, okay, so I was involved again once a year here. So I really started to pay much more attention to what was happening. And so to have discussions in my community, and try to acknowledge it, okay, there are misconceptions on both sides. This is what happens when people don't talk to each other. I know exactly what the misconceptions are in my community, because again, for years I was, in these misconceptions. 2019, I could not understand why we would replay that, because it was obvious that we would just replay exactly the same thing. And to this day, I still haven't understood. Okay, then I never had, by the way, any intention to come here. I have Hawaiʻi, I have my opinion about all of that. That was not in my career. But then the position was open and I had the opportunity to apply, so I thought to get it. All of that played some role in my decision to. Long story short, I was selected and I've been here for less than 2 years. Now, so what I want to share after these 2 years is that I see my job, two parts in my job. One is to engage with the community, to have community conversations. I have a lot of community conversations with community leaders. I've invited many of you and MKSOA members, and we'll keep doing this. And these conversations are absolutely essential. They they allow me to understand better the context, what you have to say. Again, it is listening. The second part of my job is to talk to my community, the astronomical. This is the hardest, which is in a way a bit of a surprise, because I thought that when I arrived here, I thought the hardest part would be talk to the community. And it ended up being exactly for the people in the community, support, encourage, pretend that I have met everybody, many people who don't support so well what I'm saying, but nonetheless, so far, it's very support and encourage. Talking to my community is hard, but again, it's a fact. I'm not making judgment. Okay, it comes again from the fact that there was not enough effort to raise awareness in the community. So this is what I'm trying to do. So again, it is important. It is absolutely essential that we astronomers talk a lot with Rich, and we share a lot of analysis in our vision of the future. It is important that we have this conversation with the astronomical community, because if we don't change, it is always difficult to change. But we need to convince our community that change is absolutely in order. And back to the change of paradigm, this group is a change of paradigm. So the state of Hawaiʻi, they took its responsibility in proposing a change of paradigm in the way to manage the mountain. We astronomers need to take our responsibility and offer such change of paradigms.
So, you guys have questions about discussion about who you guys are. Or, like I said, usually we're having these community meetings, about stories, get to know each other, because you cannot record unless we communicate, like, communication. Backtrack. I don't know if anybody has opinion. You have a question?
No. Back on mahalo for everyone who did make it to this community. Really, as myself as a teacher right now, everybody in education area, it is. I know a lot of our kind of wanted to be here in this graduation slowly here, pull us down the direction. To any ohana on Zoom. Yeah, this is something that I know I know others in our board getting this like item number one. To do. As we're formulating this, we have to be sure to have the venue, create space, and have the communication with the community. And I'm one that always holds it because this board and this whole partnership was not done by the grace of good representatives, done by the people demanded the people hit stand. This is one big step. Working group, what we do, met in this room a few times, in formulating and creating this. So I could say, I stand by this, work behind this. It was even the working group was great and opportunity for so in that too, in our creation is was also linked to the typical challenges. There is no formula because we don't want old formula. That's why it is a dynamic thing, so it's a new learning curve, bringing forward the best practices, leaving behind things that don't work. And also, I'm certain about it. A good practice that we can't do because there's something that says we can't. Challenge the thing that says that we can't. First to see or why not? Good thing, how do we make it? And so it is totally it's a learning curve for everyone. That's exciting because when we hit the wall, we know okay, we're pushing against that scope. Figure out. I really mahalo everyone for stepping into this role, and that's there is also a paradigm shift that generational shift. We are also having to see these things, carry on these things, and setting up because already it makes a point to me, but I won't. The big and the younger too that we have to work. So my role on the board, I'm the cultural practitioner for the cultural position. And so I feel it's a very important role, so foundation that really help to pioneer and guide even the movement. Really important in that couple aloha, so that our truth about what's being said. We can get it wrong too, but we've seen that when it works and when it's and so to sit down together, bring people up from across especially that's what makes it. I think if anything that's kind of in my history of things I've done, brokered the very first meetings between Kiaki and DMT head and everything. And I was just myself, I said, yeah. Everybody else was like, no, talk to them. Yeah, we wouldn't stand up here. We got and so for many a nights, so very a couple meetings like 2-3 o'clock in the morning at the office with head of TMT and just talking story with everybody and reading them about one of the first big meetings we had. What was it? One of the big astronomy conferences back in 2000. Yeah, it was. I called Henry and said, hey,
It me up with some of the people inside there, which, because what we were getting was, people were feeling unsafe because of the violent protesters that are gonna mark the street. And so they let me get in there. And there's this art, oh. He said, come back in like 4 o'clock, and he got together the top heads of like the world. And then I got a call, oh, the state guys want, governor's office want, can we come in a meeting? Oh, can we get in on your meeting? Can we get in on your meeting? Yeah. But all you freaking you open up. You sit down and we have to. But this is part of that too, and so really encourage the Mahalo community for coming out. I mean, the community has to maintain responsibility to and with for this entity. Yeah, Mama, I want to say right at the bat, really, and we have to see the opportunity. If not, we never know it. We have to participate. We have to participate, but no nominate.
Or anyone else want to share? What you hear? It's important that, the sharing, right? Because without communication, we're not gonna be able to. However that.
Let me say something. Was it Mr. John Gabriel? It's just refreshing to hear from the other side saying how it was difficult with your side versus not to understanding or to seeing both sides in the picture. And I don't know, I just thought it was like really refreshing because we hear both sides, yeah, we're just at each other's necks most of the time. And to hear, I don't mean, because from my side, from my Kanaka side, you know what I mean? Like we see your side. We see it, like we see it, we understand everything, but it's not worth what we're giving up on our side. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I just felt it was refreshing to hear it from the other side saying that it was probably yours. That's refreshing. It's really.
I think one of the thoughts that I have, my name is Kimberly Katina, joined the Kiaki movement in 2019 when I saw really influential and getting arrested. That really affected me. You know, then Moana is a good friend of mine, and she came home to Honolulu and she called up a lot of the Mahu community, which I come from. And she hooed us together for a couple of different reasons. One was to really uphold cultural practices and cultural thinking as we show up to protect them. And on top of them all, and we really felt there was so much emotion from so many different Hawaiians that she really felt that it was important that we really pulled in and tapped into our thinking as a humble people. Yeah, we're warriors, but we've learned over generations to lead with a law, and that was really the purpose of many of the folks, the Mahu and my community to come together to uphold this certain level of discipline and respect when we were gathering. And then, of course, it just led into our commitment to protecting what we know is something that's very culturally important to us. And so I think that for me, and also we live here, we live in Papua, in Waikahi'ula, which is known as Hawaiian Beaches. We've owned our house there since 2017. So I think what's important for me is to understand And as we're building this structure of this agency, what are the proposed outcomes that are being spoken about? What do we want to see happening? Because personally, I come from the place where I want to see no one acting up there. You know, and although we've taken drive, we go on Christmas, we go to the mountain on Christmas, be in the snow, post fully Ahu, attempt to hike to Waiau, but I'm getting old and I cannot breathe anymore. But my hope and dream is that there's no more nothing ever up there. And I know that alignment is what gets a lot of us misguided because there's a strong force of mind that believe that there should be things. Absolutely not. And then there's a whole community of astronomy folks that really have purpose up there. Learn more about astronomy. I'm not going to attempt to think that I know, but as we learn more, I'm learning that many of the things that's being done on top of that mountain, on top of Mauna Kea, is now being done in space at far able to see and communicate things far easier and far more successfully. And so I'm just thinking like the only purpose that anybody has ever wanted to go up there and build things and have kuleana was for these telescopes that staffing are no longer necessary here on Aina, done up there in space. And so what does the future look like as we're thinking about outcomes of this agency? Like, what exactly would we want to see up there? Because no use for me in my thinking, no use for us.
Let me ask Rich to address whether, because that's a question I had. Like, why need land-based telescopes? Why can't you do everything in space? Rich is the head of tech.
I can add one thing.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I just don't understand the point of building something that it is complete, it'll be obsolete. What's the point of it?
So, yeah, thanks, Sean. So, aloha, Rich Matsuda, I'm the Director of Keck Observatory. So that's a really good question. Because I personally believe that if you can do something,
I'm just taking notes.
that's fine. Be on YouTube too. But I personally believe that for me, understanding like being in the working group with Lanakila and others and understanding all the perspectives about Mauna Kea and all. There's something that can be done more easily or practically somewhere. Right? So I totally agree with that. I can give you some of the reasoning of why telescopes are still useful on Mauna Kea. So one of the things is with regards to the size of the telescope that is able to be put into space and the cost. It's like a magnitude more expensive and difficult to achieve. So something like a James Webb Space Telescope, which is producing these amazing, unprecedented images. To do that and to build a similar telescope on Earth, it's probably 10 times or more expensive to do it in space. So there's that practical aspect. And then once you launch a telescope like a James Webb Space Telescope, you can never go and maintain it or upgrade it. So it has a shorter lifetime than you would have. So like for us, we go up and we maintain the telescope. It's time and the technology gets old, we can upgrade it. Tech telescope, that's what we have done. Upgrade the instrumentation. About every 5 to 10 years, we bring new capabilities in. So for the 30 years that Keck has been doing science, we've done that several generations of new technology. So in that investment of time and effort of the people doing the science and building the capability, over the lifetime you get. And then just the physical size of the telescope that you're able to put in space, and it has gotten bigger over time. So it gets to a point where it becomes prohibitively expensive. So they'll never innovative future. In the foreseeable future, there's no plan something as big as extremely large telescope into the space of the medium. But if you use a bit much money, it's probably technically impossible. But those are some of the reasons. So the other thing I'll say is that the telescopes in space and the telescopes on the ground work together. So oftentimes, for a telescope like Keck Observatory, follow up on things that are found in space. So some of the things that have been found in earlier space missions that have been followed up by Keck together give the full picture. And that's because, like I said, we're able to instrumentation, different kinds of capabilities. That's Sean, because I'm an engineer. But your point is an excellent point, and we should be asking, authorities should be asking ourselves, what are the capabilities on Mauna Kea? What is it? If it can be done more easily, more practically somewhere else, in space, somewhere else. We should definitely, that is, I believe we should get. And be very careful.
Yeah, I think Rich, you covered it. So I think these are fair questions, and I understand that this question is very important for you in the community. So we are not building billion, 1, 2, 3 billion project to become obsolete. So of course these projects will have lifetime of 50 years, maybe more, producing science, as Richard said, that cannot be done. That is absolutely true. Maybe the only other thing I want to add to what Richard said is that along the same line, there are people who say, if you build big telescope, can you remove the Earth? And this is kind of the same answer, right? It doesn't quite work like that for us because we need different telescopes at different capabilities. So even though we are building an European, okay, we are building, I don't want to mention your project, but a European project that we are building in Chile, 9-meter telescope. So same question.
How many stories?
So when it is in operation, we are not going to stop using the other big telescopes. We have the 8-meter telescopes, and it's actually quite the opposite because these telescopes, the big telescopes, they create a different type of demand for preparing the observation that we will do with the big telescope. So it may sound surprising, but we are, even though we are building a 39-meter telescope, we are also developing 1-meter that will do something completely different. But we need these small telescopes so that we can follow up the observations with bigger telescope and eventually end up with a very big. So it is all about complementarity between space and ground and complementarity between big telescopes and small telescopes. And there is something else also that you need to understand that astronomers we are fighting for getting observation time here or getting telescope. So more telescope is just allowing us to do more science.
I have a question, sir. What's the progress going on in the Canary Islands, or if there is any progress with the telescope that's possibly gonna be built?
They're gonna move.
Because I know that the people also some backlash.
Yeah.
You know anything about that? No, because I know that was like an alternate website.
I think they're meeting protesters too.
Oh, so kind of like over here, but instead we just let them go on.
I think for me, the concern, and I don't want to hold the floor, but I think for me, the concern after hearing from the both of you, and mahalo for that, is many of us, if not most of us, come from a place of. And so what I'm hearing is still the concept of we're gonna use this, continue to grow this. New opportunities and new upgrades, and new updates, to make space for more people, for more astronomy. And so as we think about the authority, my fear is that the authority is going to automatically have to turn into a board. A board that is filled with, okay, how are we gonna figure this out so that we can work together? Rather than listen to what we have been fighting for now 10 years of please stop building on this mountain. Please stop using this land up. We want to see less over time so that we can protect it for the next generation, for the younger people, to continue to learn in these Aina-based schools and to continue to, so we were just driving on Saddle yesterday and he said, what is this conservation land? What are we conserving? What's the conservation up here? And I'm like, he said, goats. And I said, these rare plant life and this, I don't even know what else, all the things that are up there that are endangered, the silver sword, but it sounds to me like the authority will begin to turn into this processing system and modify opportunities for astronomy. And we have always hoped that the authority would be that restricted security system moving forward for way past our time here. And so I would love to know like what are the conversations about outcomes for the board and for the agency. How do you see yourselves functioning alongside the telescopes that are already up there? And I know Keck does so much for Waimea, so mahalo for that. But what do you see yourselves doing alongside this so that we don't see growth on the mountain? I don't want to see growth. Because they're okay. But I've always heard okay, no more, no compromise, no discussion. It's how this is what our leadership in the Kukia Imana movement has always instilled in us. No more compromise. No means no. Future discussions in which include the board.
We don't want you to just turn into a new agent again.
Oh, we've had no discussion, zero. Sorry. The reason we haven't done that yet, we're so focused on trying to create something that's never been created. Right? We gotta stand up a new state agency, and until August of last year, we didn't have one. So we're trying to figure out, and that's why we hired John and we're gonna announce another hire pretty soon. We've been focusing on doing things. But the beauty to me of what was created is that we have people with very different, specifically with different perspectives. Right, so you have now a leader of the KIA on the board. We have another leader, another leader of the KIA. So we have very different perspectives, which hasn't been done to. We have a representative of we have, I think, 8 of the 12 members of the board are Native Hawaiians. So we created this very different paradigm, creating a very different system. People that didn't have a voice now being put on a board with equal vote as everybody else, giving voice. Now, where that leads us, I can't tell you. Okay? But trying to create a new system where you're giving voice to people that didn't have beauty of the system. How that all, because we haven't talked about how this all ends up, I haven't know. But the idea is that we're all trying to do our best, figure out how we're going to stand this up, how we're going to do, how we're going to. So to your point, I don't know. We've not talked that. They can ask them. As the chair of the board, I've not asked any one of them where they stand on. So we're not ready to talk about it yet. I've not talked to anyone on the board about where they stand on KMP. Not one word. Because we're not ready. We're still building a hospital. And until we get a framework for that hospital, we can't, to me, pretty much it's possible.
Let me add to that, Joe, and I've been there now a month. And I'm not a board member, so I have no vote. But my instinct and sense is that wherever each of the 12 is today, they're going to have to continue to learn, teach, and share. And how you design a system and an organization that preserves that above all else. Okay? Because to get to the next level of consciousness, astronomers need to hear Malakila, and Malakila needs to hear astronomers. And business people need to weigh in, government experts need, land management people. So the makeup is intentional by the discipline that each brings. But they need vigorously, they're going to have to keep teaching one another so that everybody learns from this, so that they can make enlightened decisions. And the hospital not opening it, basically. Yeah, and none of us on this. In the old days, let's just go build an army. And you know, and
Name. Kids.
yeah.
But we're not about practices, right? We're about the mountain itself. And putting that first and foremost in the lens rather than what can we do where, I mean, and this is the history of land management. We could build a Waikiki where the, out of the wetlands and kaula lands of springs of that area because we had the technology to do it. But was it the right thing to do for that land? And one of the hard lessons we've learned in Hawaii is we did that in a lot of places where we just did things because we could, whether or not we should. And recalibrating and creating systems where you put, and we always said this, What does the land need? What does it want? You know, and let's focus on that. Our practices, what we do there then should be supported as much as possible of that need of the land. Because then you have a vibrant land, you know, and vibrant, thriving people in a vibrant, you know, in a vibrant place. Like Waikamakopoa, you know, I mean, that's the wisdom. And so that's what I see the challenge. It's that let's forget about, when we had to do this, we had existing contracts, we had all kinds of stuff everywhere. You don't just snap a finger or make a wand and it's all gone, and now you can make it perfect again. You know, it's something you have to, number one, have the values really clear, and then have some kind of analysis, some kind of process where you then start to really use those values in all your decision making. So I think when we talked about today, and I have so much to learn about this whole group. And we went through about a year, 2 decades of that. And with fish ponds and Moicano and streams and fauna and forests and so forth, and change our thinking.
Solid. All of them. Aloha, everyone. My name is Kikua. Speaking to the questions that was I work for Cape Observatory as a community relations coordinator.
Tell them, how you going? What you get?
I was up in Uluru. I was camping with my nephew, my sons, my daughter. Thinking about it, you know, like that movement, and I was upset. And I pursued rights, you know. I was actually questioning, a younger generation was in the ones that was arrested. And then you think about it, the Puno would not allow us to not be able to provide. So they didn't want to, you know. So I was just interested in regard to the 2 questions. Well, I went up there, you know, and then wanting answers, started asking, hey, what is structure of what they're doing up there? I couldn't seem to get one answer. So I went down to Cape Observatory. And I started asking questions. And the answers I was getting was, I think, I didn't understand much, which is why I want to speak to like the 2 things that I heard today. Number one, it's hard to be on. It is extremely hard. Speaking to how you said it, you know, is all holy, nothing we do. And some of us are in support and want to see innovation and want to move forward. And it's not one is better than the other. It's not one winning one fight. It's understanding how to track. So it's a very challenging place to resign. So, excuse me, I kind of really emotional. It's extremely sensitive. And this is not about building anymore. It's how come we don't get rid of all of the telescopes because we have space telescopes, and you folks thank you for sharing. The way that I looked at it and learned while I've been working at Cape Observatory, you know, it's good to have like technology brings you to a whole new level, but you're not going to use an excavator to dig one hole that is 6 feet. Yeah, it's the greatest thing that can come in big, but you're gonna ruin everything. So I think in the terms and the way, like the lens that I look at it, like you have this tool that can do like much better, but it cannot do the fine little things. If you look at some of the images from JWST, it's like the grain of salt holding from your arm's distance, and there's like hundreds of galaxies inside of there, which have like our galaxy 200 billion stars, and each one, you know, is so like immense. Like, the universe is huge, and you cannot use that to. I'm sure you can, but it wouldn't be worth the money that you put into that space telescope to look at something that one of the telescopes can take a look at. So in that regard, that's the way I look at it. They go hand in hand. So you even get the laborers over there, you know, the excavators say, sweeping away a little bit of stuff, you know, they working together. And then with the culture side, oh, it's extremely hard to have family members and community members that like challenge me like, oh, you know, it's kind of stuff like that. And like, how come we measuring, kind of measuring each other that way, you know? And that's really my own also come out of my, yeah. So like we're all trying to work together, figure it out. How do we all work together and move forward together, but still really learning. We shouldn't be in it to win something. And I'm not saying anybody here is just saying in my wanna like win something. I wanna know we can do this together. So building, we're building. That's the case. That's what we want. But to remove and handle everything, that would be hard pill for myself. To stop. Knowing what is the capabilities and what is even in our grasp, the opportunity. You know, I think a lot of what was going on, what I learned and also grew is more like working in the telescopes. And how you gonna get any answers from them? For the telescopes and figure out, oh, no more America line. So I endure. I stay. I like stay on this course, figure out like where we're headed. So just speaking to the two, yeah, valid points all the way across through. Hey, learning, try to learn, and then that's the part where the community talks to them. Yeah, because what anyone is saying, maybe you folks not hearing, maybe you folks not looking at, right? So that's where I think we're headed with these community talks. I appreciate it. All of everybody's wrong.
Also, there's one principle that we put into this from the working group. Kind of spoke to, you know, the Mauna is the, that's one thing that we, or is one we, Mauna. Everything, you know, eventually at some point, everything has to be able to serve out there foot. And so that tracks with, like, so you for me, in my role and responsibility, look at everybody is down here. Kamala is here. Even us. Even I would say even I as a Kanaka that has no practices with the mountain, I say my rights. The mountain is second to the overall health and well-being. Mountain gave us. It's a mountain that gives us and everything to do to stand and claim that. And so in that, we all come down to here. We look at then what is appropriate. How do we care for the mountain? And that's for each particular group, entity, idea, whatever that comes across the mountain. We have to prove ourselves. And that we are not degrading the mountain. We are benefiting. The mountain, this is a big discussion. What is the mountain? Some people I hear, they talk about the business, and then the business is the mountain. The mountain is a mountain. It's a mountain. How it live on, that's the mountain. And so even as a Kanaka, we approach, that's all very important. That's part. Everything that is proposed or looked at the mountain is we have to create that checklist. So part of the things that we're fully on before I see them, why I think we eventually have to work. What we've seen in some instances, like the rulemaking thing, is a top-down approach to this community. We and even in the hard one, what were the companies? How do we care? How do we take care? So putting a mountain as pinnacle, we are going to have to eventually from the different, you know, we are going to have to go through the ringer. Because in my protocols of approaching the mountain, there's 10 protocols
on internal and everything, like. It's not just something simple, like, I don't know exactly what. Things is not. Actually, nothing, no need for it. But the ultimate practice of Mauna Kea, stay off. So, common practice. Already you can see where the conflict, the practice of it, but it's supposed to be Kea. Kea is not white. Kea is pure. That's Kea. Purity. So that's what bring this cultural knowledge for translate that. We're talking about untainted. Untainted. So that, what does that look like in this day and age? And as far as when I hear conservation, that means the ultimate rules of that mountain is to protect the ecology. So these are the things that we're going to get to in like 5 years. We just got to set up structure. And that's why it is, we just kind of agreed upon, like, kind of, we're not having those individual discussions right now, because we just got to form the body. And the structure of how eventually, when we do open the door to have the conversation about the specific things like telescope weeks or even planning projects, if this is we access. And so it's a big job, fully out of that. You said, oh, even the this did this. So now we have to look forward for the next generation. For us, the next generation, what is it about we first thing for myself? I want to see a lot more investment. Shoot a little greenhouse. I'd like one as big as that whole parking lot. Chop down 50 old trees to make a parking lot. Just turn that into a giant greenhouse so we can have. So first, we're looking at it, seeing that whole being able to help either or. But we are looking at the structure, both the mountain and the summit, kind of how we do this, how we, as we create it, there's different things that's where we talk community, also for different backgrounds, how can we help to set just of analyzing the requests. And there's a lot of different things that we're bringing to the table. I think we've spoken of people who come by document, these are things that we do before. One of the 5 years with the authors of the Futures Initiative, these types of guiding principles that we're seeing being applied in INA stewardship plans, these are things that we can now implement. So then kind of for me, kind of how do we create the checklist of this? And we have to, or we are going to have to, what's going to have to, and it's the nuts and bolts.
So I know that, I know everybody own life, right? Everybody have a mortgage on life, everybody get bills, everybody get their own business, et cetera, right? And I know that whether they want to admit it or not, this is not their forefront, right, of their life. This is like just what they're doing, right? But it's 5 years, like 5 years to create a structure, is that like, because to me, it's not feasible. You know what I mean? Like, we need to get this shit, I'm sorry. We need to get this show on the road. You know what I mean? In terms of managing and protecting the mama. You know what I mean? I understand, like, you know what I mean? Like, I know you guys not meeting every day. I know you guys not meeting every week. But is there like a faster plan that we can come, or we can create a structure in maybe 1.5 years, 2 years versus the 5, or we can start, you know, implicating certain whatever we try to do. You know what I mean? And it's just like a very broad term, but it's like, is 5 years, like, is that what we're looking at?
5 years is what's in the legislation, right? We're trying to go as fast as we can. part of the big challenge right now is getting through the state bureaucracy. To get one job description approved, we have to go to 3 different. So we try to, and one of the reasons we brought Lloyd is that he understands state government. I never worked with him. I don't know. Lloyd, he knows. So in terms of trying to expedite things, that's one reason why. Yeah, good for we. We want to, yeah.
So what type of protection do we have in place right now? Why you folks are focused on building this structure and making this foundation pop? What do we have now to ensure? Because we all know, like, you know, we get our text messages and our signals and all of that, and we know like TNT is having community meetings again, and there's this conversation over here. So, like, what is happening right now that keeps everything staying?
Well, it says by law that we cannot enter into any new leases during this 5 years. The thing that I really want to stress to you guys is that you now have people that before they got appointed, you trusted as being leaders of the community. Now they in this process. What I don't kind of get and kind of irritates me sometimes is now some of the native ones don't trust him because he's part of the process. Like, wait, yesterday before he was on this, they trusted him. So why don't you continue to trust that if something is going wrong, if we're not doing what we're saying we're doing, that you're not gonna come on and start protesting us, right? So you gotta trust that the people that have been are good people that are appointed for different perspective, cultural perspective, and I'm gonna let for my, I know you know that you have to say something. But for my government, another member, you guys gotta trust that the people that are kind of representing different perspectives are gonna be true to their thing. And that they're gonna call things, they're gonna call something out if things are not, we BSing you.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying?
So I think it's that we don't trust, definitely not on the Hilo, we definitely trust on the Hilo. But what we don't trust is like how they gave us 5 weeks to pick the whole board. You know, when he was getting out, he didn't get, which board gave us 5 weeks?
Right.
Not even, 30 days, 31 days, the board.
Okay.
I was like 30 days, it was just mind boggling, you know?
Yeah, but who ended up.
Yeah, but we get on the Hilo, so we got.
Yeah.
Maybe the 5 weeks was too short, but at the end of the day, they pick people, I believe, that truly. That's, you know,
Or actually,
yeah, Pomai, you know, just this Pomai Berlin, who is also another member.
Thank you, Laura. Aloha nui kapo. It's good to see all of you, and really, I am just grateful, absolutely grateful for the conversations that are being had tonight in Hilo. Thank you guys for coming, and more especially, thank you for the absolutely amazing questions that you folks are asking. That is exactly why one of our permitted interaction groups created this process, because we really felt that through all of the processes that we've been through before, that it was absolutely necessary for us to be able to have these kinds of conversations. So first and foremost, thank you for coming to the table. Secondly, I would just say that I am an educator. I have been now for, I was just doing a math, you guys, like 30 years. That's kind of dating me as well. It's a little crazy to think about. And if you think about it this way, Lanikila was actually my student. When he first came into the 9th grade at Kanoka. So just giving some context there. But you know, in coming into this role and into this seat as a lineal descendant, one of the things that I am a firm believer of is that it's going to take more than the 11 or the 12 of us to stand up this entity. It is going to take the work of all of us to do it. And so just by coming tonight and continuing to come and join us as we continue to do the work, it's going to take all of us to do it. So mahalo nui for that. But as an educator, one of the things that I had to understand for myself is what is my pedagogy of practice, and what is it that I am wanting to make sure and ensure that my students understand as we work together. And really, it comes down to two things. Of course, it comes down to aloha aina and love for aina. The second thing that it comes down to is how conservation and sustainability have the capacity to work to support the ecology of the natural resources. Specifically in this particular instance, Mauna Kea. I will echo what Chair Komije shared and what Lanikila shared, and what I know we all believe on this current authority is that Mauna Kea is the center of our current conversations. And putting the mountain first was a non-negotiable for us. And, you know, guys, could I have said that 10 years ago? I wouldn't have said that 10 years ago. But today, because we sit in this current space that has been the non-negotiable, and what solidified that, and it's a first step, but what solidified that is when we went collectively to Mauna Kea, to Pu'uhuluhulu, acclimated, did our ceremony there, went up to Halepuhaku, and then up to the summit. And so it has become a practice of ours to start with bringing the mountain into space, to start with words, to start with mana'o, to start with sentiment about who Mauna Kea is to all of us. What is also really, what has become a motivator for me as well is the fact that we are willing to learn from one another on this authority. And that for me has been, I have to say, an eye-opener. I really wasn't sure what that was gonna look like. And there's not much, I mean, I'm still learning so much, but listening to, asking each other questions, being able to lean in and ask for clarification, especially when we start to use language that we are not kama'aina to. So that I'm really grateful to this team, if you will, because we've been able to do that. And so one of the reasons that I think for me or any of us really being on this authority, but more especially, I'm just gonna speak for myself. I would say that I'm one of the least likely candidates to be here, truly and honestly. You know, this is definitely not a realm that I'm comfortable in, not at all. I am comfortable in a setting where we are reforesting, because that is my kuleana of my students, is to rebuild the structure of the forest in Waimea that was taken away and taken down by our own people generations ago. So that is my practice. It is to restore the water molecule and regenerative practice of the water molecule in Waimea, the place where all things pertaining to water is from. And so that is where I'm most comfortable. However, I asked myself the question, why am I here? And it is because our keiki, our hanamna, and the generations after us, and the ones that are 2, 5, 10, 12, and 20, need to understand and know that they can sit in this seat, that they are a seat similar to this, that we're not looking at people anymore who work in the state government, no. They're looking at the aunties and the uncles that are their coaches, that take them to do reforestation projects, that take them to the ocean so that they can do all the coastal and ocean cleanup, that take them to restoration of fish ponds. They need to know that they, because they are in that same type of hana, and they're part of the restorative movement on island and on land base, that they have the capacity to be in these seats. That for me is absolutely integral. And when I look at and I reflect upon the individuals that I sit on this authority with, some of us are makua, some of us are kupuna, right? I get a sense that that's why many of us are here too, because we do want the change and reform. I appreciate the questions about what's next and where are we, and how fast can we pace ourselves? How much more fast can we pace ourselves? Because me, like you folks, I feel like there needs to be a quickening, and at the same time, I also know that to build anything good, we need to take our time and do it well. And so I think I've said more than I needed to say tonight, but I just really want to express my mahalo nui, my gratitude, kalamai, to all of you for being there and for sharing space and time. It really matters. It really does, because what we don't want to do is feel like we're alone. Of course, we also don't want to get 100 cracks, but feeling like we're not alone, and that you folks share a sentiment. I mean, that our people share the same sentiment as many of us do. That's refreshing, and it's also reassuring. I did want to just point out, my one document. I wasn't on the committee with Lanakila folks. However, part of the work that we've been led to do, especially back in 2015, was with this really amazing and dynamic team of practitioners that came from all sects of the environmental restoration work in the environment throughout Hawaii. So we had the bird people and the ocean people and the volcanism people and the rock people and the Mauna people. We had the reforestation people. We had all the different levels of the ocean. So there are about 25 different types of practices that are represented, and we utilized traditional text to be able to pull the information and data out of it about Hulihia process and the process of change. And so what I want to do is just direct everybody to the Kihoihoi Kanawai, Restoring Kanawai for Island Stewardship, that was created by all of these people. And one of the things that it absolutely speaks to is the Kihoihoi Kanawai. And what that does speak to is through the restorative practice of landscape, whether it's through natural disaster or transformation of ecology, or also when human creates adverse change in space. But that document is a really beautiful document that has the capacity to guide how we see, and the lens of Hawaii, and how we see it being utilized to give voice and give consciousness to a lot of the thoughts that were shared this evening. So with that said, mahalo nui to everybody. It's good to see all of you. Aloha no.
I just wanted to say thank you to everyone. I was Laura Ocasio, state senator, and one of the first meetings I had was with Rich, and it was I think it was one of the best meetings that I had. There, that I was only there probably a week, maybe two, by the time we met. So there's a lot going on and very fresh to the position. And why I bring that up is because I feel like it's really a big part of what's been said tonight in terms of the reason why I'm here is because I think dialogue in conflict resolution, regardless of any outcome, any specific outcome, or I know it's really important to have this. So creating the big and having the space to have community meetings where people and on that conversation we talked probably less about astronomy than anything. I feel like the connection was about things that we really do care about, like making sure folks are housed and our kids and a thriving community, which is important aspects of the things we share. And so anyways, just wanted to know a lot of folks here for different various reasons and positions, but for me, I'm committed to being here for the conversation moving forward as a community member, where I think this is important because it's not going away. without dialogue. And specifically focusing also on Mauna Kea being a focal point, but also stewardship and what that is. How we do that in practice. Myself, I'm still learning more about that. So, just thank you for you guys for doing the work. Personally, I trust everyone on the authority, and that's the one thing I was going to bring up. I think it's really about historical precedent of boards and commissions and the lack of public trust. And of course, also when it is in the act, it does say, or in the original measure in the act, it says Mauna Kea or astronomy is the priority of the state. And so there, even though I know the team that has come together right now is looking at Mauna Kea as that focal point, there is language in the original act that says astronomy is a priority. And I think that potentially has conflict in the sense of building public trust. This process, hopefully that's where it goes, is continue to build public trust, where right now, and then unfortunately, because of past precedent, we have boards, we have commissions that get stuck with a certain group of people that lean towards one particular outcome. And so again, I think this is important because it's an opportunity to rebuild that trust. And I think that's really important. There was so much that was tap into, but it's very relevant to the work moving forward as a future state senator or whatever the path may hold for all of us. And I'm really committed to it. So well, it's really good to
The experience I have really, echo your remarks. It's not that, I am not even on the job and I sense the urgency. But you're talking with in a program provider, we talk a lot about the phrase, use a lot of the phrase. We move at the speed of trust.
Yes.
We can get the tasks done faster, but if the tasks are done and nobody trusts the result, why did you do it? And so building trust, and there's a lot going on to build trust. This is not the only venue to build the trust. What you're doing is building trust. What you're doing is building trust. And what the community are doing are building trust. And so there's lots of ways to engage in that and support. And just an idea, I think we rightfully put the focus on Mauna, but we're really interested in astronomy too. I think our people had an understanding of the relationship that we have to everything to the furthest extent of the heavens. That's Ohana too. And we're very curious about it. And we observed and chronicled a lot of that our observation in data. And the sharing of that with the astronomy community, I would think, would be a really rich discussion and a way to build trust. And maybe that's already gone on, but then maybe that's a lot of what MKSOA is about and what KU does and so forth. But that's fascinating. What our kupuna knew, how the heck they understood that, it's just mind-boggling.
Throughout their years of being and being on the Mauna and doing all these things, I have often, what would our community have chosen? What would our community have chosen? Because that's very, as a 3 years old, I know our model and all of these, and so that's always been like a conflicting question because I have a very strong feeling I know what. But we also see a lot of the choices that are community made when we had the control and the power to make those choices, how it has affected us generations down the line. So I hear what you're saying, and it's always a question that kind of lingers in me, like what would Lily do? What would Mama Luca do? She was my favorite. But I appreciate what you said because I think that is where trust comes in, and I know that, and we've each other during OHA, and I've seen that like the personal attacks that many of these folks, and Antinoinoi too, and Antigua, when they make a decision to dialogue and to work together. So definitely not addressing, I think many of our concern is the history that we've known when boards and authorities and commissions come together. And so I think as I walk away from this survey to here, how do we make sure folks like Pomai, folks like Antinoinoi, folks like Lanakila, our Kanaka folk who have the same thinking and same values, regardless of what their stand, TNT specifically, how can we ensure that those seeds don't get watered down to folks that don't have the most messages? And I think that a lot of us, I mean, a big, huge traffic filter right there to ensure that those are written into this commission's bylaw and that there's a way to challenge when we see these seeds getting watered. And it happened in Kamehameha. Like when we see these seeds getting watered, make sure that the board is taught in making the right decisions. Every community's use.
So, just so you know, they just got some of the members of the authority just got nominated and the process, right? The community stood up and insisted that, and when I say community, I'm say that the Hilo business community stood up, support.
So I don't really know what the state said. And my understanding was if it wasn't done within a certain time period, and we were having caucus as the Senate, if it wasn't done prior, then Governor Green would pick the nominations. And so there is that, it was kind of fast because then Governor Ige would choose. And then I remember when the names came out, I was like, oh. Just everybody, I'm like, the conversation will be rich, on it with everybody that at that time. I didn't know a few of the others, but I felt like this will be a great conversation. Not knowing that you guys aren't even getting to the conversation. The process. I just wanted to mention that too, because sometimes it seems from the outside. Again, because of the past precedent of not trusting, and also, I mean, that's the nature of politics. And so, where if it seems shady, we just automatically go to the
Well, I think it was more elevated that when it was at the nationwide convention. Then the news came out, and we got 5 minutes. Yeah. They got up again. Yeah. We go to the table and the news came out, we were like, and this is how I see it. I mean, this is how whoops, right underneath you. I was like, wow, it's a very typical state of Hawaii.
But it's because of the timing of confirmation, nominations and confirmations, and we were going into a new election.
I do understand. But you can understand how they yeah.
Either, except for that, once you start understanding those, the more you're engaged in one thing, the more minute details,
Yeah.
So we gotta explain that, but we don't necessarily, government doesn't do a good job of explaining this process necessarily and give an explanation so that it could kind of hurts.
And that include 8 years with the water commission. Government, if the government doesn't get it right.
Yeah.
You know, Kaleo Manuel and so forth, 20 hours of hearing. Showing up, you know, in the process. So, you know, better if you don't make the decision. That's what we try to tell people, you know, I replace it. Turn into this debacle, you know, it's an self-inflicted wound, you know, because do the right thing. they're gonna do the wrong thing, they're gonna pay the price. The people just not, they're engaged. Political arena.
Can I just say something too? Kicking off. Well, that, back in 2019, we felt very stuck. That our future was very certain and totally limited. You know, with so many people on the road, it was undeniable that this. And when the legislation for the bill came out, several of the observatories came out. This idea of and governance was important to us. So even in like a reconfirmation. Members, authority, creation of authority, voice given. Because you wind up like that, it's the future.
We still give them time to see the truck.
So the astronomy sector, or whatever you want to call us, is really having to look at history and where we want to go. It's not where we were. I think there's a huge shift in realizing that is not in the same situation again. And like to John Gabriel's point, those of us here in Hawaii, we get way more than maybe some of the folks come to use the telescope. And so we have to spread this feeling, like you were saying, change is needed. Just as fast as we can, at the speed of trust. So same thing we're having to back up to all.
These contract they use for the telescope?
No, it's scientific partnerships where institutions want to have their people, but they build the telescope and operate community. So like in Kek's case, it's mainly the Earth.
I think it was really important what we said. It's very difficult to be a modern day Hawaiian. You can get like old school Hawaiians that, oh, you think you cannot but you get Facebook and Instagram. Like there's those arguments too, right? And like many of us that are stuck in the past, like have never thought about how would we have evolved as a people over time with the influences that we've had. I'm an executive director of a national nonprofit that deals in social justice. So I work within so many different communities, LGBT and Black and brown folks around the country. And one of the constant things that I try to remind the folks that I work with is that, Native people have so many good nuggets of values and perspective around relationship, around communication, around aina, that could really, really change the way we deal with across the board, the entire spectrum of whatever you do, whether it's healthcare, whether it's politics, whether it's, whatever. Having those opportunities to share this cultural knowledge that had sustained our people for thousands of years before someone else came is really the key to saving a lot of parts here on this island on top of that. So knowing that Lanakila and Antinoinoi and Pomai and Kaligua and all of them are there to really help influence that, and knowing that all of us up there help influence your community to kind of bring in that cultural sensitivity to visitors that are here, knowing that folks like Kiko, we spent the day after Christmas on top of the mountain. My husband had to go home and get his check out. And our family was just got out and they knew how everyone music together. The moment, that's how we met, right? You know, and so like when you have that pilina within and relationship, it absolutely changes the trajectory of work. And I think that really is the golden point that you all have with Latino and Manakiba and all the other knuckles that's on this board.
See, and what you just described is what I personally try to do. The essence of Hawaiʻi, we're losing the essence of Hawaiʻi. And what you just described, probably some people will describe it as aloha. But the ability for us to sit here tonight and have an honest discussion, talk about hard stuff, but yet be respectful and trust each other, that it's a safe space. That's what one of my goals is, to create this safe space, right? So that we can have this, and we can learn from each other, we can clear up misconceptions. Because we cannot move forward as Hawaiʻi, just in general, forget about Mauna Kea. But because we don't like coming like the mainland where everybody just gathering in together. Right? So we're gonna have to create more of these spaces, more opportunity for people to talk, so that we as a community, when I say community, all of us can move forward together. I'm really happy. So I don't know, okay, a couple guys did say anything, I'll give you, we're gonna wrap up. I don't know if you guys want to say anything.
Sure. Thank you all. My name is Bill Stormont. My mother's family is from this side of this. My in natural resources, almost 40 years. That would give them and had the privilege of being first director. Created master plan. We did what's happening now. Stand up an organization with a management board made up of community members that brought certain perspectives. Cultural Advisory Council of Mura and Stevens and Hope folks tried to do that within the university. And it was very challenging. And I was there from 2001 through the your contested case hearings, for instance, and go through that. And I've been watching Mauna Kea since I was back to high school and before, working in the Youth Conservation Corps in 1970, 48 years ago, building fence in Mauna Kea and making trails. Been involved in that. And I've watched over the years this new effort to create a new body that's not going to be a person. That kind of upset me to begin with, because I was part of that university effort. Thought we did some really good things. Started the ranger program and a lot of other things during the time that I was there for caring for the mountain. And the interactions that we had the opportunity to have with the observatory staff, it's interesting because there was a new sheriff in town that they were to it, saying, "You're going to tell me what I can do with my telescope." And I said, "Well, it's going on outside the building." Yes, that's how it's going to go. But we tried to ensure that they understood that coming to us and having these conversations was going to be good for them. It's going to help them get to where they need to proper way based on what the plan said. There was a lot of what we had to do that the plan didn't say. So there were challenges with that, interpretable. But as this new entity was considered, and still kind of thinking, well, the university over those 20 some odd years has really done a tremendous job, especially in realm 3. That I have come to, I've been to very recent meeting, the last proximity session at Kilo. And learn more about more of the current stewardship that the university is. Great. They are doing a way better job than anybody else could. It took some time to get there, but they're really doing a great job. Monitoring for invasive species, monitoring for the native features, monitoring of the cultural features. The summit itself does not. Yet there are tremendous. But I began to realize that, okay, maybe in the university, this role continue to be such a draft to properly being the leaders of the community, making sure that the community understands management entity is going to move in time for the mountain. I came around to the thinking that, okay, move it from the university, put it into the step well, with an appropriately appointed board of people from our community, passionate in very different ways, but coming together. And I just having watched them with people. I'd like to be, I'm hopeful. One of the things we was there, realized that many of the folks that work in we're driving them down the mountain on a regular basis. No idea all the cool stuff. Natural cultures, terms for observatory staff. We started in the Banana Gardens at 7 o'clock in the morning. See the mountain. We had to stop along the way, things. People go to the island, they bring that back. But it took us so much to get to the top. There's nothing along the way. And then continuing on, years later, people I would see, they had no idea. I think that provided the observatories an opportunity for a little more understanding of what they were living on. How they had a unique opportunity. It began to be more. I just thought it.
Question? So you said that you thought that when you did the management plan was good, right? Do you agree that the management plan pertaining to astronomy was good?
Yeah.
You think so? Like where there was like sort of like grandfathering leases to overleasing telescopes on the model.
Well, the lease agreements that are in place there are there.
And even the ones that were there, like, they leased out like two. I don't know if it was prior to what did you say, 2000? 2000, yeah, which was so prior, I think they had, what was it, like supposed to only have 3 telescopes, but they built 6.
Not remembering it.
They had a management plan for Yoshi to over.
Yeah.
And then there was supposed to be only 3 more telescopes, but they built basically 6, they grandfathered 2 leases into that. And then in 2000, they also released the telescopes, which I think they built 2 more than they were actually allowed to give. I don't know how they did that. And I just wonder how did that process happen?
That all happened
Before 2000.
It's like comprehensive management. The comprehensive management plan was the outcome of the contested case here in
Part of the of the other project process, the order at the university that began to be written to discuss.
Because it's definitely mismanaged, that's all I'm saying, like, UH definitely mismanaged.
2000, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm sorry. Anybody else want to share? Okay, so actually, you can help us wrap up. Doing something.
Let's see. Um, um, what can I it's not really a closer necessarily, but it's because I think these conversations are just getting more. I just feel that I can think of one more. 2 minutes, and as you're talking, yeah. And then we have, and we are planning to continue to go continue these regularly. Para naman I've been chanting these halls many times, it's chanted across. Really went up to the community to all learn and hopefully have began overall voyage. Interesting going around the world. Portion of part of it and written by her beautiful she see how Mauna Kea hala Mauna mountains describes the island like. And so we do this it's like we are it's cultural revival is really about because of great communities. And we have big tasks. We have it all. In my life to may not like somebody, but you know what? We could and never talk about this track. It's the thing of it. We all know one. You can't just keep throwing people off. We all have somebody out of the Ana baita me na me hiro ele mai kota me ko ala me apatu ai kai wai ki he polao ba ki e ka wai me he a ka rai ai e ku pe no ga ba o poria e bala na wa ke ai una Paagua hibi heali gaba o ia ka na na kue ye ye ye. Oh, bisa.
Oh my. Thank you, everybody.
Halo, Puera.
First time, team esposa.
So excited.